Hey, who loved the Pokémon games and shows when they were younger? You know, catching those silly little monster creatures like Pikachu and battling with them. Well, we all went nuts over that whole Pokémon world as kids. It's basically a real-life money printer that made over $100 billion so far. Yes, you heard that right. Billions and billions of dollars. All just from putting those goofy animated animal dudes on video games, cards, toys, and everything else. A daydreaming kid who liked catching bugs? No way that spawns billions of dollars, right? You'll be stunned by how it happens. Chapter 1. What is Pokémon? So if you somehow missed the whole Pokémon craze while growing up, let me quickly explain what it is. Basically, Pokémon is a big fantasy world filled with over 800 different made-up pocket monster animal characters. You've got fan favorites like Pikachu, the cute little yellow mouse thing that zaps electricity. But then you've also got super weird ones like Snorlax, a gigantic, blubbery monster that literally just sleeps and eats all day. For real, that's his character's whole deal. In classic video games at least, your job is to travel around this animated world as a Pokémon trainer, trying to collect and catch all these bizarre creature pals. Once you catch them, you train them up and use them to battle against other trainers' Pokémon teams. So yeah, when you break it down, it's kind of a ridiculous concept, making a game just about collecting wacky make-believe animal things so they can fist fight each other. A dumb idea, really. The cliffhanger? Just wait until you see the mind-melting, jaw-dropping numbers and statistics behind how stupidly profitable Pokémon has become with this silly idea. We're talking piles of cash. Chapter 2. How did Pokémon start? The Pokémon franchise kicked off in Japan way back in 1996. It was the brainchild of a video game developer named Satoshi Tajiri. As a kid, Tajiri loved exploring the outdoors and catching bugs and insects to observe. However, as cities grew around him, there were fewer places to explore nature easily. Tajiri decided to create a video game inspired by his childhood hobby of collecting creatures. This game would allow kids to digitally collect a variety of unique monsters, battle them against each other, and trade them with friends, an experience he wished he could have had growing up. After about 6 years of development, Tajiri and his team at Game Freak Studio released 2 Game Boy games, Pokémon Red and Pokémon Green, later updated to Blue for international audiences. The basic premise was simple: travel around a world filling your Pokédex by catching all 151 original Pokémon characters. From there, the magic of Pokémon was born. The games were an immediate hit, selling millions of copies in Japan and North America alone that first year. Its addictive gotta catch 'em all spirit had kids completely hooked on filling their Pokédexes. Kids also went crazy over trading and battling their Pokémon with friends through a cable link connection. Suddenly, this weird bug collecting concept had become the ultimate playground craze and moneymaker for its creators. But how did it become a worldwide phenomenon, making billions of dollars? Before we get into this, make sure to subscribe and keep watching to find out. Chapter 3. Billions and billions of dollars. Okay, I've hyped up these insane Pokémon money numbers enough. Let's start with the main video games, because that's where this whole money train really took off. Those original Pokémon games on Game Boy where you caught monsters and battled with friends have sold over 340 million copies total across all the games and remakes. 340 million, you guys. That's almost as many people as the entire US population buying those games over and over again, each one costing $40 to $60. Even made-up animal things gotta get paid, I guess. Their sales from licensing and merchandise hit $11.6 billion in 2022. That's over $3 billion more than the $8.5 billion they made the year before in 2021. A huge 36.5% jump. So what caused this crazy jump in sales? Mainly, it was because of the brand new Pokémon Scarlet and Violet games that came out. These introduced a totally new region called Paldea, with fresh Pokémon and characters that fans went wild for. However, the new anime series called Pokémon Horizons, which debuted in Japan and the US, also helped boost its popularity and merchandise sales last year. Pokémon makes money from games, toys, clothes, accessories, home decorations, books, and more. They've got licensing deals with tons of different companies. Last year, they even partnered with some new companies to make Pokémon products. Their licensing program was so successful that they won the License of the Year award from the Toy Association. Out of the top top 10 biggest brands ranked for merchandise sales growth, Pokémon was the only video game company on the list at number 2. Can you guess who was at number 1? Yep, the gigantic Disney company, making over $61 billion. The video games are just the start. What about those animated Pokémon movies that hit theaters over the years? You know, the ones with Mew, Mewtwo, and whoever else. Those have grossed over $1 billion at the worldwide box office. $1 billion just from theater tickets for movies about these goofy creature things. That's enough to literally fund like 20 Marvel Avengers superhero blockbusters. And if you think movies are where the biggest bucks get made, oh man, just wait until you hear about Pokémon's actual money printer, the trading cards and merchandise. Those classic Pokémon cards that every 90s kid collected like crazy, over 30 billion individual cards have been purchased and hoarded worldwide so far. As for toys, clothing, backpacks, lunchboxes, and every other piece of Pokémon junk that parents got conned into buying, that's another $3.6 billion average raked in per year. And you know what might be the most ridiculous part? Their bonkers money-making machine that doesn't show any signs of slowing down, thanks to a sneaky psychological trick up its sleeve. Why does Pokémon still make money? Games? Love for nostalgia? Do you know what makes people open up their wallets easier than anything? Nostalgia for their childhoods. Reminding adults of fun, simple times growing up, and boom, they're spending money like crazy. Think about it. If you're somebody around 25 to 35 years old right now, Pokémon was the universal obsession and biggest thing in your whole childhood and teenage years. It was everywhere. Games, movies, shows, toys, every product imaginable. Now you're all grown up with cash to spend, but Pokémon knows exactly how to tap into your nostalgia and keep selling your stuff. Limited edition cards and old school apparel, all while saying, hey, remember this from your childhood? Give us money to relive those happy memories. It's a straight up genius but kind of evil marketing ploy that works ridiculously well to keep printing cash from nostalgic former kids, now adults. As long as that nostalgia keeps hitting, they'll keep paying up. Of course, easy money or not, you'd think raking in billions yearly would make Pokémon feel good, right? No, because fans have some huge gripes about what Nintendo's doing wrong, too. Why are people frustrated with Nintendo? Lots of bitter adults basically say, it's the same gameplay I had 25 years ago as a kid, just with slightly better graphics each time. It's not exactly a growing review for something so successful. Then you've got fans hammering Nintendo for how slow they are to adapt to newer gaming tech, trends, and that kind of stuff. It took them forever to finally jump on the mobile gaming craze with Pokémon Go, despite it clearly printing money. There are constant criticisms about Nintendo being behind the curve in terms of virtual reality, open-world game developments, and modern online integration, you name it. For something so lucrative, it can feel really out of touch sometimes. And that's not even getting into shady business stuff that ticks people off, like product shortages, overpriced special editions, regional restrictions, and more anti-consumer practices. Don't get me wrong, I'm not just pointlessly bashing Pokémon here. I'm acknowledging that even something ridiculously popular and profitable has to deal with legitimate criticism surrounding its business moves. Evolving to stay super relevant while also printing billions for decades more? That's the real tough challenge Nintendo's gotta tackle amid these fan frustrations. Speaking of the future though, you'd better believe Pokémon's bigwig bosses have some insanely ambitious and expensive plans to make even more unbelievable amounts of money in the years ahead. What does Nintendo and Pokémon plan to do next? If you thought the crazy revenue numbers I've dropped so far were already nuts enough for a franchise about fictional animal things, oh man, just wait, because the big brain business people behind this whole operation clearly have no plans to slow down their bizarre money-making schemes anytime soon. In fact, their future money printers sound absolutely bonkers. We're talking about ambitious huge swings like turning Pokémon into its own interconnected movie universe in the style of Marvel's mega popular films. No more one-off animated flicks. These aim to be fully blown movie epics with crossover stories, character arcs, and the whole 9 yards. But that's just scratching the surface of the insane future products they're cooking up. How do you feel about catching and battling holographic Pokémon in your living room using virtual reality headsets? Yes, they're 100% working on immersive experiences just like that. Imagine throwing on a VR headset and suddenly your whole room turns into an open-world Pokémon safari where you can physically interact with digital critters. Kids and adults will be throwing cash at Nintendo to make that happen. Heck, while we're getting nuts, how about a real-life, straight-up, out-of-a-daydream Pokemon-themed amusement park and resort destination? Yep, you better believe they're already planning it behind closed doors. A full Disneyland-esque getaway built around the Pokemon world, filled with rides, shows, gift shops, hotels, and restaurants. Every bit of it is an immersive journey into that universe. Travel to the Kanto region and battle gym leaders for real. Sign me up. Well, there you have it, friends. The complete story of how a weird little Japanese game spawned one of the most lucrative financial juggernauts in entertainment history. Definitely gives you something to aspire to, am I right? If mind-blowing money stories like this are your thing, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. We've got plenty more audacious business tales to tell. Thanks so much for watching from the start to finish. I appreciate you tagging along for this wild Pokemon journey. Let's do it again soon.